Tonight on News 5 Live, a raid on the property of former Lands Commissioner Wilbert Vallejos yields over $70,000 in various currencies. Vallejos and his brothers are detained in Corozal pending instructions from the Financial Intelligence Unit. Former Governor General Dame Minita Gordon passes at 90 years old. The last murder for 2020 was recorded in Belize City on New Year's Eve, bringing the total to 102. We'll also tell you about the first murder of 2021. And the GI3. Commissioner Williams shares details of the new law enforcement unit. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live from Monday, January 4th. I am Marlene Cuellar. He sat in the seat of power in the so-called hotbed of corruption for 10 years as the Commissioner of Lands and Surveys. But tonight, Wilbert Vallejos finds himself in the proverbial hot seat. That's because heavily armed members of the mobile interdiction team descended on Vallejos' residence in Pachacan Village, Corozal earlier today. News 5 learned that Vallejos and his brother were arrested by the officers and taken to the Corozal police station pending further instructions. Inside the house, the team found tens of thousands of dollars, and the assistance of the Financial Intelligence Unit was subsequently requested. Officers reportedly found 69,800 Belize dollars in cash. They also found 10,000 pesos and 3,170 US dollars. The search concluded at around 4:30 this evening. We're told that officers are waiting on the Financial Intelligence Unit to proceed with charges should Vallejos be unable to provide proof of how he legitimately came by the sum of undeclared monies. Vallejos resigned from the post of Commissioner of Lands and Surveys on Thursday after serving for 10 years. He served under 3 UDP ministers, Gaspar Vega, Dr. Carla Barnett, and Hugo Pat. We're told that Calbert Blackett is the new Commissioner of Lands and Surveys. Shane Flowers was the last murder victim for 2020. The Taylor's Alley resident was dispatched in a hail of bullets on New Year's Eve, and a female companion with whom he was walking on West Street is hospitalized for gunshot injuries she sustained during the attack. Flowers is no stranger to the law, and his execution is believed to be the result of an ongoing feud between rival groups in that neighborhood. 56-year-old Minita Wilson, a resident of West Street, was along with Flowers when a lone gunman pounced on them. Despite attempting to flee in the direction of Glen Street, Flowers collapsed from his injuries and died on the scene. Senior Superintendent Gilberto Romero has additional details.
Here on Thursday, the 31st day of December 2020, police responded to a shooting incident on Glen Street in Belize City. Upon their arrival, they found the lifeless body of Shane Flowers, and another female was found at the KHMH with gunshot injuries. She was identified as Minita Wilson and was admitted to the KHMH in a stable condition. Investigation revealed that both persons were walking on West Street when a male person came and fired shots towards them, causing the fatal injuries to Flowers and the other injuries to the female. The male person then fled from the scene. Several persons were detained and questioned in regards to this murder.
Sir, motive behind this?
Okay, it's a rivalry between two groups in that area of Taylor's Alley.
Sir, talk us about Shane Flowers. Who is he? Is he known to the police?
Yes, he is known to the police.
The concerns about this retaliation as a result of this?
Yes, there are several patrols that have been put into place in that area to prevent any retaliation in regards to this murder.
The first murder for the new year was recorded on the night of January 1st in Santa Cruz Village in southern Belize. The body of Placencia resident Kelvin Lindo was discovered face down in the backyard of Santa Cruz villager Honduran national Herminio Gutierrez Alvarez. Gutierrez reported to police that he was socializing with a man known to him only as Cristobal when another man came asking for him. While making his way into the house, he heard the echo of a single gunshot, which came from behind his house. Upon making checks, he claims that he saw Linda struggling with the man, but seconds later, Linda collapsed to the ground. The deceased had been shot once to the chest. But was this murder due to a drug deal gone wrong? Information to News 5 is that Cristobal has been identified as a Nicaraguan national who is known to police for alleged involvement in a string of robberies and burglaries in Santa Cruz Village. And reports are that Lindo is a known associate. ACP Joseph Maivet says that Gutierrez has been detained, but they are looking for Cristobal and another man.
Police were called to the home of one Herminio Alvarez in Santa Cruz Village in the Stan Creek district, where upon their arrival they observed the apparent lifeless body of Kevin Lindo, 24 years, with apparent gunshot injury. What was reported to the police is that Mr. Alvarez, along with two other persons, were socializing in his yard when, according to him, Lindo approached, and he then went inside his home where he heard of a struggle, and then after heard what sounded like a gunshot. He is detained at this time pending the investigation, and police are seeking two other persons whom we believe are key to this investigation.
A magazine with 16 rounds was retrieved from the scene. 4 other persons lost their lives over the extended weekend. The first includes a 14-year-old boy whose body was discovered in a sitting position in a bedroom at the home of Jose Puc on the morning of January 1st in San Jose Zacatecas. On December 31st, the minor, Myron Shamir Itza, complained to his mother of stomach pains and reportedly stepped outside to use the outdoor latrine. Less than an hour later, he showed up at Puc's residence, where along with several other persons, they began consuming alcoholic beverages. The Belizean chemist says around 2 a.m., he took the minor inside his bedroom where he fell asleep. Itza was discovered motionless hours later when checks were made on him. A post-mortem will determine the cause of death of the minor, but in the meantime, Puc has been detained pending further investigation. Assistant Commissioner of Police Joseph Maivet says that a number of items were retrieved from the scene and points out that there are some charges that can be leveled against Puc.
According to Puc, sometime after 2 a.m. was when he granted Itza's permission to go into his bedroom to sleep. So far, a number of items which we believe are important to the case were retrieved from the home of Puc, and he has been detained and interviewed in relation to this investigation. A post-mortem date has not yet been scheduled. However, this investigation is being followed by our detectives in Benqueville.
So what are some of the issues with what has happened?
Firstly, the curfew is still in effect, so he should not have left his home after or during the curfew time, which he apparently left after 10 p.m. Secondly, he should not have been encouraged at the home of Puc, and at 14 years old, he should not have been encouraged to be consuming alcoholic beverage along with others. At this point in time, we are not certain, so we are trying to get to the bottom of that, and the post-mortem results will determine whether or not foul play is suspected. However, if that is not even the case, we are also looking to prefer some charges against Puc.
An investigation is underway in Belize City, where a resident who was detained by police was discovered dead inside a holding cell at the precinct. Gregorio Bowen was taken into custody for an incident in which he reportedly wounded another person. But after 2 this morning, he was found nude and hanging inside the cell. The victim removed his trousers and used it to take his life. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams says that although an investigation has been launched into the incident, records show that protocols set in place to monitor detainees were followed. He also says that the deceased was not known to have been suffering from any mental health condition.
This morning, sometime after 2, they made checks on a prisoner Gregorio Bowen, who was detained pending charge of wounding. And upon doing so, he was found nude in the cell block, hanging from his pants. So apparently he took off his pants that he was wearing and hung himself on the gate of the cell block. He was removed, taken to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. I have tasked Professional Standard Branch as well as the officer commanding Eastern Division to launch an investigation to see if there was any negligence on the part of the officers who were working at the particular moment. We do have our cell block policies that speaks to the fact that officers must make hourly checks on prisoners, and in situations where the prisoner is under the influence or demonstrates the potential for harming him or herself, then the checks must be made every half an hour. In this case, Mr. Bowen was not drunk, and he was not one who displayed signs of wanting to injure himself or others. And so the checks on him was made hourly. We have checked the diary at the station, and it shows that the officers did make the hourly checks at the cell block, and it would appear that it was after the 2 a.m. check was made that he eventually did what he did. Nonetheless, we're going to see what the investigation reveals at the end, and then we'll brief you all more on it.
2 persons also died as a result of a collision on the Southern Highway between a motorcycle and a pickup truck around 6 p.m. on January 2nd. 16-year-old Edwin Marquez was riding a motorcycle on the highway when a Chevy Colorado pickup truck traveling in the opposite direction came into his path. The collision occurred on mile 43 in the vicinity of Heartbeats nightclub in the village. Marquez died on the spot, having received injuries to the head and chest, and both his feet were broken. Driving the truck at the time was Juan Velez Sr., who was traveling with his family. Velez Sr. also received head and body injuries, but succumbed at the KHMH in Belize City.
Sometime around 6:20 p.m., police were called to Bella Vista village in the Stand Creek district. Somewhere around miles 46 on the Southern Highway, where upon their arrival they observed the motionless body of a male Hispanic just off the right-hand side of the road when traveling north, and he was identified as Edwin Marquez, 16 years, and next to him was a damaged motorcycle. On the opposite side of the road, police observed a black Chevy Colorado, which at the time was apparently being driven by one Juan Velez, 47 years, and at the time he was accompanied by his common law wife, his 2 children, and another male person. The investigation had shown that Velez, who was returning from a social event in the Stand Creek Valley area, veered into the lane of the oncoming motorcyclist, which caused the collision. Velez, along with his family, was transported for medical attention. He was later transferred to the Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital, where he died whilst undergoing treatment.
Velez's wife, Elubina Gomez, received injuries to the head, while their sons, ages 9 and 17, received abrasions on the hands and feet. The 5th passenger in the truck, Manuel Koch, was injured to the right shoulder. They were all treated and released. Coming up, Belize's first Governor General passes away in the United States. Caused intense flooding overnight.
My fellow Belizeans, very soon 2020 will end and we will welcome the advent of 2021. As a nation, we will look back at 2020 with very mixed feelings, and rightly so. It was a year of unprecedented floods associated with hurricanes Nana, Eta, and Iota, which caused more than $100 million in damage to the Belizean economy. People lost their property, farmers lost their crops and livestock, and public infrastructure was seriously damaged. If this was not enough, we experienced a drought that affected produce and farmers lost again. The COVID-19 pandemic brought our economy to a near halt. Over 236 Belizeans lost their lives to COVID and more than 10,000 tested positive. About 45,000 persons lost their jobs and many businesses closed as a result of the measures imposed to fight the virus. COVID-19 dramatically changed the way we work, the way we live, and the world we know. But 2020 was not all bad. Hundreds of Belizeans, along with Cuban collaborators, faced the virus and provided care and control as we implemented measures to curb its spread. Those frontline workers are our heroes. Because of the lockdown and other restrictions, many new micro, small and medium-sized businesses were spawned. This showed our Belizean creativity and an entrepreneurial spirit never before seen. We now have more Belizean businesses. As a result of border closures, we became tourists in our own country in record numbers. We rediscovered the exotic beauty of this our land and the warm hospitality of our people. On 11 November 2020, voters went to the polls, braved the COVID-19 virus, and elected a new PUP government with an overwhelming majority. The electorate endorsed the proposals in our Plan Belize. We received 59% of the popular vote. Without doubt, my government has a strong mandate for change. 2020 was truly a year of change. Change because Belizeans needed to change what was, and because Belizeans want a better future. When we assumed office, we found the treasury empty. The former administration was borrowing $1 million per day to meet expenses. Imagine, they had to borrow every single month to meet payroll. That is bankruptcy, pure and simple. Last August, the Barrow administration failed to pay the US $13 million superbond payment when it became due. Instead, they added this amount to the principal, thereby increasing Belize's foreign debt and deferring the inevitable. The rating agencies downgraded Belize yet again. The important takeaway is that due to mismanagement by the Barrow administration, they could not make the payment, and Belize was financially embarrassed on the world stage. As a result of COVID-19, the Barrow administration borrowed more than $200 million in 2020. The Belizean economy was in recession before COVID-19 gripped us. The situation worsened in the second, third, and fourth quarters, and we estimate that the Belizean economy will shrink by 15% in 2020. The overall fiscal deficit is now in excess of $500 million, or 12% of GDP, and our debt to GDP will increase to 133%. The acceptable standard is 60%. While economists who analyze and keep track of these statistics will be alarmed by these figures, they tell a simple tale to all: Belize broke. We believe that Belizeans should know why things are so bad. We all deserve to know how we reached this deplorable state. Because of UDP mismanagement and corruption, we will all be asked to make major sacrifices in 2021 as we seek to right the ship of state. In good conscience, before we ask Belizeans to do so, those who brought us to this point must be held to account. In the days and weeks ahead, my government will be revealing to the Belizean people the extent of the stealing, criminality, and corruption that was perpetrated by the Barrow administration. Valuable lands are now in the hands of UDP cronies, given away for a pittance. Contracts valued hundreds of millions of dollars were awarded to favorite contractors who failed to pay millions in taxes and fees. State enterprises bought properties at gross overvalues, leaving institutions saddled with millions in debt for no legitimate purpose. Cronies signed contracts in the run-up to the elections and are now demanding massive payouts to be released from contracts. Public officers were required to use government equipment and fuel to build roads on private property and to clear massive ranches. The theft and corruption were widespread and unprecedented. This cannot, should not, and will not be allowed to be forgotten. There will be investigations and, where warranted, criminal charges laid. Where appropriate, civil action for recovery will be brought before the courts. There will be no sacred cows. It is against this miserable reality that we must turn to face 2021. The new year presents us with near insurmountable obstacles. The challenges ahead are difficult. The choices we face are tough. To suppress the spread of COVID-19, we have created the COVID-19 Task Force. This task force will be guided by science and has a mandate to recommend such measures as are required to protect us all. We're engaged with friendly countries and others seeking to bring the vaccine to Belize as soon as reasonably possible. To bounce back better, we must defeat coronavirus. I have appointed the Economic Recovery Advisory Team, which is comprised of a cross-section of the community, to make recommendations to government on restoring economic growth, job creation, and attracting investment. This is in keeping with our Plan Belize commitment to govern in a consultative manner. We have been carefully reviewing the government's financial position. It is fragile and unsustainable. It is clear that to return Belize to a path of sustainability, major changes will be required in 2021. We are preparing a plan which we will shortly share with stakeholders. We intend to consult widely with a view to agreeing on a set of measures required to turn things around. We will bounce back better. Next week, we will present a supplementary budget in the House of Representatives and present revised estimates of revenue and expenditure for the last quarter of this very unusual year. We will not propose any new revenue measures. We will also present bills to the House which initiate our reform agenda. These bills will be tabled and referred to committees to give interested persons an opportunity to consult and offer comments on our proposals. In an effort to stimulate more economic activity and ensure that employees have more disposable income and employers more finances to operate, we consulted with the actuary of the Social Security Board, who has advised that we can defer the dual increase of the ceiling and contribution rate scheduled to begin in January 2021. He went further stating, and I quote, that the dual increase would have a detrimental impact on employment, end of quote. He also stated that an updated actuarial report sent to the Social Security Board several weeks ago states that the impact of COVID-19 on the actuarial situation of the SSB has been less than anticipated. Therefore, As the Prime Minister and Minister responsible for Social Security, along with Cabinet, we decided to postpone the increase in the payments that was due in 2021. Pope John Paul II said, "The future starts today, not tomorrow." This is true. The challenges of the future call us to act today. When tested, Belizeans respond. As a people, we have always faced our challenges secure in the knowledge that we will succeed. It is the indomitable Belizean resolve that girds us, the spirit of our ancestors that energizes us, and our hope and vision for a better life that inspires us to overcome. We know not what the year before us brings. That is the order of nature. But our undying faith in our Creator gives us confidence. The Bible teaches that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Let us bring in 2021 safely. Let us adhere to the protocols and try to minimize the spread of COVID-19. And to Belizeans everywhere, I offer health, happiness, and God's blessings for 2021. Happy New Year. Feliz Año Nuevo.
Every day, young persons are infecting older and high-risk family members and friends with the COVID-19 virus. This Christmas could become the super spreader event we've all been afraid of. The end result is suffering and a horrible death. Please, do not let a couple of hours of fun cause a lifetime of mourning and pain. Practice social distancing, wash hands often, and wear your mask properly. Staying home this Christmas will ensure many more with your loved ones in the years to come. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Belize's first Governor General, Dr. Dame Elmira Minita Gordon, died New Year's Day in Inglewood, California at the age of 90. Dr. Dame Minita Gordon served as Governor General from 1981 to 1993 and was the first woman in the Commonwealth to assume the role. A condolence message from Prime Minister John Brisenia says, quote, "Dame Elmira Minita Gordon, you were a blazer of trails as our first Governor General of independent Belize and the first ever woman Governor General of a Commonwealth realm. Your life has been a story of exemplary service to your people, and we know you will rise in glory," unquote. Also sending condolences was Governor General Sir Colville Young, who succeeded her as Belize's titular head of state. Young says that Dame Minita was a lady of great talent and charm who served her nation with patriotic dedication and wisdom, earning everyone's praise and gratitude. Gordon was an accomplished Belizean, having served as a trained teacher at the Belize Teachers College and former education officer in the Ministry of Education. She would later go on to become Belize's first trained psychologist. In our archives, we found one of Gordon's final appearances and speech. She addressed the room filled with women police officers.
Women police constables act as social workers, diplomats, law enforcement officers, while maintaining the community's respect and confidence. After being an educator for some 35 years, and being a Belizean woman with continued active interest in women's education, I am fully aware that a good education for women provides the highest quality in the development of any nation. For the more opportunities women are given to improve their education, the freer they are to become themselves, to contribute to society in areas of decision-making policies.
Dr. Dame Minita Gordon was educated in Belize City at St. John's Girls' School and St. Mary's Primary School, and later graduated to attend the Teachers Training College. Her first teaching post was at an Anglican school. She then went on to lecture at the Belize Teachers Training College, after which she became an education officer. Dame Minita furthered her education overseas, studying at the universities of Nottingham and Birmingham in England and the University of Calgary in Alberta, Canada. She obtained a master's degree in educational psychology and later her PhD in applied psychology at the University of Toronto. Former aide-de-camp of Dame Minita Gordon, Alan Usher, spoke about the first time he met her and how she was as a person.
For the weeks leading up to the independence, that is what I was doing. We already knew that Her Majesty would be represented by the Prince Michael of Kent. And actually, I was working out of the governor's office at that time, taking notes, preparing for that announcement of the Belize's first Governor General. When it came, some days before, I think the Independence Day was the 21st, which was a Monday. And I think it must have been the Friday or the Saturday. I found out who the Governor General was. Obviously, I had never met the lady before. I found out where she lived, and straight away I went across to her house on Pluge Street, made an initial meeting, and told her who I was and what I was doing. And by then I already had my notes all typed up. This is before computers. And started to brief her on basically the program that will take place over the next coming days. I could still think back, that was a very long, very long weekend. The Saturday, the Sunday, and leading up to the Monday. Very long weekend. We had delegates arriving from all over the world. There were lots of things to arrange, and it was quite busy. She was a very intense person, very analytical. I guess when you do PhD studies, that's what you get hammered into you, is that you're analytical about everything. And it was really a wonderful working experience. Of course, I was in a teaching mode at that stage. You know, the fellow standing in front of the bunch of soldiers is a major. That rank is what that rank is, and the guy with the one stripe is a lance corporal, and there's a full guard is 96. The flag to the middle of the parade is the colors. So there's a whole new world that she was going into. Obviously, public administration, she would have had that experience from working in the Ministry of Education and indeed the Education Department. But going in, understanding the military, understanding the functions of the state was obviously a new experience, which she picked up quickly.
Details of her burial will be shared at a later date. While 2020 closed with the murder of Shane Flowers, it still ended on a high note for the Belize Police Department. The murder rate is significantly down. In fact, the number of major crimes reduced significantly across the board. There were 102 murders in 2020, which is 32 less than compared to 2019. Compol Chester Williams today said that officers have been effectively pursuing criminals, and it has paid off.
Thanks to the men and women of the Belize Police Department, as well as the wider public that welcomed us into their homes during 2020, and those who participated with the police in ensuring that we had one of our best years ever in almost a decade when it comes to fighting crime across the country. And yes, while we saw significant reduction in major crime across the country when compared to 2019, our figures were not exactly where we wanted it to be, but it still is one that is worth of celebrating. I think for 2019, we had a total of 134 murders recorded countrywide. And for 2020, we have a total of 102, which is a reduction of 32. And so that is a significant reduction for us.
And so going into 2021, Commissioner Williams and his senior officers are already in the process of re-strategizing the department's crime-fighting efforts with a view to realize a further reduction in criminal activities across the country. That strategy will be launched in the weeks ahead and will also reflect the mandate of the new Ministry of Home Affairs. While the new plan is being finalized, Williams says that focus will still be placed on several areas of concerns, including gangs, murders, and alcohol consumption.
We have to look at the new government's agenda, the Plan Belize agenda, and ensure that our strategy will be in sync with what the government had promised during their campaign. And so I believe that for 2021 we're going to have a good year as well. We still have to continue focusing on those 4 pillars. The issue of domestic violence is still a live issue within our society. The issue of gangs still remain very much prevalent. The alcohol consumption and the liquor establishments, these are things that we still have to focus on. Even though you would agree that for the latter part of the year, we saw less crime resulting from alcohol consumption because of the fact that we had curfews, and that may have limited the sale of alcohol. And we also saw where the bars and so forth have been closed for almost half of the year. So that again reduces the sale of alcohol. And so in that category we saw a significant reduction. We also saw a reduction in the issue of gang violence or gang murders.
After the break, hasta la vista GSU. Details of the newly formed GI3 are shared by the Commissioner. Will former GSU members carry over into the new task force?
Unlike the other guys, Digi doesn't throttle customers down to 3G.
Which is why anyone would be a fool not to invest. So, do we have a deal? Hello? Hello?
Instead, Digi offers more LTE speeds in all mobile phone plans.
You, sir, are brilliant. Thank you for doing business with us.
Plus, the most affordable prepaid mobile data plans starting as low as $1.
Compatriotas beliceños, muy pronto, 2020 terminará y daremos la bienvenida a la llegada del 2021. Como nación, miraremos hacia atrás al año pasado con una mezcla de sentimientos y con toda la razón. Fue un año de inundaciones sin precedentes asociadas a los huracanes Nana, Eta y Iota, que causaron más de $100 millones en daños a la economía de Belice. La gente perdió sus propiedades, los agricultores perdieron sus cosechas y sus ganados, y la infraestructura pública quedó gravemente dañada. Por si eso no fuera suficiente, experimentamos una sequía que afectó la producción y los agricultores volvieron a perder. La pandemia del COVID-19 casi paralizó nuestra economía. 233 beliceños perdieron la vida y más de 10,000 dieron positivos. Alrededor de 40,000 personas perdieron sus trabajos y los negocios cerraron como resultado de las medidas impuestas para combatir el virus. El COVID-19 cambió dramáticamente la forma en la que trabajamos, la forma en que vivimos y el mundo que conocemos. Por el año 2020, no fue tan malo. Cientos de beliceños, junto con colaboradores cubanos, se enfrentaron al virus y proporcionaron cuidados y control mientras implementábamos medidas para frenar su propagación. Esos trabajadores de primera línea son nuestros héroes. Debido al bloqueo y otras restricciones, se crearon muchas nuevas micro, pequeñas y medianas empresas. Se dejó ver la creatividad beliceña y un espíritu empresarial hacia entonces oculto. Ahora tenemos más empresas beliceñas. Como resultado del cierre de las fronteras, nos convertimos en turistas en nuestro propio país en número récord. Redescubrimos la exótica belleza de esta nuestra tierra y la cálida hospitalidad de nuestra gente. El 11 de noviembre del 2020, los votantes fueron a las urnas, desafiaron el virus COVID-19 y eligieron un nuevo gobierno del PUP con una mayoría abrumadora. El electorado apoyó las propuestas de nuestro Plan Belice. Recibimos el 59% del voto popular. Sin duda, mi gobierno tiene un fuerte mandato para el cambio. El 2020 fue realmente un año de cambios. Cambio porque Belice necesitaba cambiar lo que era y porque los beliceños quieren un futuro diferente. Cuando asumimos el cargo, encontramos la tesorería vacía. La administración anterior pedía prestado $1 millón por día para cubrir los gastos. Imagínense, tenían que pedir prestado cada mes para pagar la nómina. Esa es la bancarrota pura y simple. En agosto pasado, la administración Barrow no pagó los $13 millones americanos del Superbond cuando se venció. En su lugar, añadieron esta cantidad al capital, aumentando así la deuda externa de Belice y aplazando lo inevitable. Las agencias calificadoras volvieron a bajar la calificación de Belice. Lo importante es que, debido a la mala gestión de la administración Barrow, no pudieron hacer el pago y Belice quedó financieramente avergonzado en el escenario mundial. Como resultado del COVID-19, la administración Barrow prestó millones de dólares en el 2020. La economía de Belice se había contraído antes de que COVID-19 nos afectara. La situación empeoró la segunda, tercera y cuarto trimestre y estimamos que la economía de Belice se reducirá en un 15% en el 2020. El déficit fiscal general se estima ahora en $500 millones o el 12% del Producto Interno Bruto, y nuestra deuda con el PIB aumentará al 133%. El estándar aceptable es el 60%. Mientras que los economistas que analizan y siguen esas estadísticas se alarmarán por estas cifras. Estas cuentan una simple historia para todos. Belice está en quiebra. Creemos que los beliceños tienen derecho a saber por qué las cosas van tan malas. Merecemos saber cómo llegamos a este lamentable estado. Debido a la mala gestión y la corrupción del UDP, se nos pedirá que hagamos grandes sacrificios en el 2021 mientras buscamos enderezar el barco de la nación. Pero antes de que podamos pedir a los beliceños en conciencia que lo hagan, aquellos que nos llevaron a este punto deben rendir cuentas. En los días y semanas venideros, mi gobierno revelará al pueblo de Belice el alcance de los robos, la delincuencia y la corrupción perpetrada por la administración Barrow. Tierras valiosas están ahora en manos de los compinches del UDP, regaladas por una miseria. Contratos valorados en cientos de millones de dólares fueron otorgados a contratistas favoritos que no pagaron millones en impuestos y honorarios. Las empresas estatales compraron propiedades a precios excesivos, dejando a las instituciones cargadas con millones en deudas sin ningún propósito legítimo. Las empresas privadas firmaron contratos en el periodo previo a las elecciones y ahora están exigiendo pagos masivos para que se liberen de los contratos. Se exigió a los funcionarios públicos que utilizarán el equipo y el combustible del gobierno para construir carreteras en la propiedad privada y para limpiar ranchos masivos. El robo y la corrupción fueron generalizadas y sin precedentes. Esto no se puede, no se debe, ni se permitirá que se olvide. Habrá investigaciones y se presentarán cargos criminales justificados. Cuando proceda, se iniciará acciones civiles de recuperación ante los tribunales. No habrá vacas sagradas. Es contra esta miserable realidad que debemos enfrentar el 2021. El año nuevo nos presenta obstáculos casi insuperables. Los desafíos que se avecinan son difíciles. Las opciones que enfrentaremos también son difíciles. Para suprimir la propagación del COVID-19, hemos creado el Grupo Especial del Trabajo COVID-19. Este grupo de trabajo será guiado por la ciencia y tiene el mandato de recomendar las medidas necesarias para protegernos a todos. Estamos comprometidos con países amigos y otros que buscan traer la vacuna a Belice tan pronto como sea razonable posible. Para recuperarnos mejor, debemos derrotar a la Rona. He nombrado al equipo asesor de recuperación económica, que está compuesto por una muestra representativa de la comunidad, para que hagan recomendaciones al gobierno sobre el restablecimiento del crecimiento económico, la creación de empleo y la atracción de inversiones. Esto está en consonancia con nuestro compromiso de Plan Belice de gobernar de manera consultativa. Hemos estado revisando cuidadosamente la posición financiera del gobierno. Es frágil y insostenible. Está claro que para devolver a Belice a un camino de sostenibilidad se requieren grandes cambios en el 2021. Estamos preparando un plan que en breve compartiremos con los interesados. Tenemos la intención de realizar amplias consultas con miras a acordar un conjunto de medidas necesarias para dar un giro a las cosas. Nos vamos a recuperar mucho mejor. La semana que viene vamos a presentar un presupuesto suplementario a la Cámara de Representantes para el último trimestre del año fiscal. Presentaremos estimaciones revisadas de ingresos y gastos para el último trimestre de este año tan inusual. No propondremos ninguna nueva medida de ingresos. También presentaremos proyectos de ley a la Cámara que inician nuestra agenda de reformas. Estos proyectos de ley serán presentados y remitidos a los comités para dar a las personas interesadas la oportunidad de consultar y ofrecer comentarios sobre nuestras propuestas. En un esfuerzo para estimular más actividad económica y asegurar de que los empleados tengan más ingresos disponibles y los empleadores más finanzas para operar, hemos consultado con el actuario de la Junta de la Seguridad Social, que nos han aconsejado que podemos aplazar el incremento doble del límite máximo y de la tasa de contribución previsto para comenzar en enero del 2021. Fue más allá al afirmar y citó que el incremento doble tendría un impacto perjudicial en empleo. También informó de que un informe actuarial actualizado enviado a la Junta de Seguridad Social hace varias semanas afirma que el impacto del COVID-19 en la situación actuarial de la Junta ha sido menor de lo previsto. Por lo tanto, como primer ministro y ministro responsable de la Seguridad Social, junto con el gabinete y actuando con el asesoramiento actuarial, decidimos posponer la aplicación del último tramo de enmiendas legales, sujeto a una evaluación de las tendencias actuariales en el 2021. El Papa Juan Pablo II dijo: "El futuro comienza hoy, no mañana". Esto es cierto. Los desafíos del futuro nos llaman a actuar hoy. Cuando se le pone a prueba, los beliceños responden. Como pueblo, siempre hemos enfrentado nuestros desafíos con la seguridad de que tendremos éxito. Es la indomable resolución beliceña que nos une, el espíritu de nuestros antepasados que nos da energía y nuestra esperanza y visión de una vida mejor, lo que nos inspira a superarlo. No sabemos lo que nos depara el año que tenemos por delante. Es el orden de la naturaleza, pero nuestra fe inquebrantable en nuestro Creador nos da confianza. La Biblia enseña que la fe es la seguridad de las cosas que se esperan, la convicción de las cosas que no se ven. Traigamos el 2021 a salvo. Cumplamos los protocolos y tratemos de minimizar la propagación del COVID-19. A todos y cada uno, de parte de mi familia, les ofrezco salud, felicidad y las bendiciones de Dios para el 2021. ¡Feliz Año Nuevo!
The Gang Suppression Unit has been dissolved, and so too has the Anti-Gang Task Force. In their place is a new component of law enforcement that will specialize in hunting down and prosecuting underworld figures involved in organized crime, including gang activity. The GI3, as the elite group will now be known, will focus on intelligence and information gathering. It will also investigate those individuals before indicting them. According to Commissioner of Police Chester Williams, the modus operandi of the GI3 is a departure from the brute force that was associated with its precursor.
We had the disbandment of 2 units, which is the gang suppression unit and the anti-gang task force. Subsequent to that, we created 1 unit, which encompasses both of those units, which is the GI3, which stands for Gang Intelligence Investigation and Interdiction Unit. And that unit will be tasked primarily with ensuring that the gangs across the city and even those across the country are investigated from an intelligence standpoint. So within the new unit, we have an intelligence cell, we have an investigative arm, and we have an operational arm. And so the intelligence cell goes out and gathers intelligence on these gangs. The investigative cell investigates the gangs with a view to ensure that we charge gang members for the gang-related offenses under the Crime Control and Criminal Justice Act. And then interdiction, or the operation arm, is out there in the face of the gangs on a daily basis, ensuring that they do not get the opportunity to commit the crime that they may wish to commit. So I want the public to be assured that, because I have seen where people are complaining about why disband the GSU at this time, and that while this GSU has been disbanded, there is still a unit out there that is going to be doing the same work that GSU was doing, but from a more professional level and from a more targeted level, to ensure that when we go after these gang members, that they are gang members, and with a view to ensure that we don't only go after them, but we get that intelligence and evidence on them that we can charge and send them to prison.
So what becomes of the officers that formed the erstwhile gang suppression unit? Will they also be part of the most recent iteration of special assignment officers? According to Williams, it is not an automatic transition, and many will not be joining the GI3. He says that a thorough background check will be conducted prior to admission into the task force.
They'll be doing what GSU did, but from a more professional standpoint. And indeed, yes, we have to refocus in terms of the attitude of officers who are at this new unit. And that's the reason why every officer who works within a GI3 unit must be properly vetted, meaning that we are going to do our own background check on these officers to ensure that they do not have that propensity of abusing human rights. And once an officer who wishes to go to that unit fails that vetting, then he or she will be disqualified from going there.
So we'll see some officers being removed from the unit.
That's for sure.
Police are also investigating the disappearance of an elderly man in the West. But this missing persons case is unlike others we've covered. And as police and family members have been searching for 69-year-old Miguel Caseros, they fear that the worst has happened. Caseros was last seen alive on New Year's Day at a farm belonging to Carlos Gomez on the Arenal Road. But while Gomez, Caseros, and another man socialized on the farm, there was a dispute, after which the elderly man introduced a pellet gun. Caseros, according to a report made by Gomez to police, was subdued and left on the farm. When he and police returned to the farm, Caseros could not be located. ACP Joseph Maivet shares details on this.
Caseros got into a dispute with one of those persons, and he left towards his farm and returned with a pellet gun. And upon his return, he discharged the pellet gun in the direction of one of those persons, hitting him in the abdomen. As a result, a struggle ensued, and he was subdued by those persons and tied up, after which it is alleged that they then left the area and went to Benquevejo police, where they made this report. Upon their arrival back at the farm, Mr. Caseros was not found. Since then, a team of police and family members have been conducting searches within the entire area, but he has not been seen or heard from since.
Do the police suspect that Caseros may have been killed?
At this point in time, we are looking at all angles, and those persons whom I spoke about are currently detained pending this investigation.
There was yet another weed bust on the Philip Golson Highway. In Orange Walk on January 2nd, police intercepted a vehicle driven at the time by Akeem Bowen. He was accompanied by Curlin Phillips. A search of the vehicle led to the discovery of 4 parcels of suspected cannabis weighing 4.5 kilos or approximately 10 pounds. The men have since been charged for the drug-related offense. ACP Joseph Maivet tells us more.
Sometime around 7 p.m., whilst police officers were conducting vehicular checkpoint on the Philip Golson Highway, a black Toyota Hilux approached at the time being driven by one Akeem Bowen, 31 years, and he was accompanied by Curlin Phillips, 32 years. A search conducted by police of the vehicle resulted in the discovery of 4 parcels of suspected marijuana, which when weighed amounted to 4,500 grams. Both persons have since been arrested and charged for possession with intent to supply a controlled drug, and they should be appearing in court today.
When we come back, Guatemalan armed forces enter Belizean waters illegally in an attempt to stop researchers from diving near the reef.
Season greetings, especially to the members and supporters of the Belize Diabetes Association and to all persons living with diabetes and their families. The year 2020 will go down in history. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought many changes and challenges to our lives and health. Sadly, some of us have lost loved ones. I'm so glad that we have managed to come through this year together. Thanks to our partners, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, PAHO, our donors and sponsors, and all who have supported us during this year. As we start the new year, I ask, how can we make the new year a better one? My wish is for you to give yourself the gift of exercise. Why? Because exercise can improve your overall health, your well-being and quality of life. Being overweight and obese are the biggest risk factors for diabetes. Lack of exercise puts us at risk for diabetes and its complications such as blindness, kidney failure, stroke, and lower limbs amputations. Diabetes is the 2nd leading cause of death in Belize. My second wish is for persons living with diabetes to maintain an A1C level below 7%. For persons not living with diabetes, your A1C level should be below 5.7%. Exercising at least 30 minutes a day, 3 days per week can help in reducing your A1C level and delay or prevent the onset of diabetes. Finally, our diabetes self-care management program is available for persons who need assistance in managing their diabetes. Our branches throughout the country are open for support and any assistance that you might need. Call us for more information. Together, let's manage diabetes one step at a time. Let's exercise for diabetes. Let's maintain our A1C level below 7%. We must do it. We have to do it for our overall health and well-being.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Intake 95 will go down as arguably the most diverse and qualified cohort of young recruits to enlist in the Belize Police Department. Only 225 eligible men and women will make the final cut. However, interested candidates from across the country journeyed to Belmopan last week to submit their applications. The addition to the rank and file of local law enforcement is the first entry in an ambitious plan to strengthen the numbers of officers in the department.
I am happy to see that a number of young persons are interested in being a member of the Belize Police Department. And you know what I found ironic was that some of the same persons who are applying, a very large number of them are those who criticizes the police on social media daily. So I find that our enemies now want to join us, and that is welcoming. I just want to say to them that I hope that their interest in wanting to be a member of the department is not just for the salary, but rather that they want to really and truly be a part of the department in terms of trying to see how they can help us to develop and change the culture of this department. And I know that it is going to be difficult for us in terms of selecting that small number that we wish to recruit, which is going to be 225. The fact that we have so many people, it gives us a broader pool to select from. And we are going to ensure that we select the best of the best. And let me say that I'm extremely grateful that during the whole application process, the minister have been saying to us, please, Commissioner, we do not want these applicants to have to be getting a recommendation letter from no politician, right? And that was very important, because we don't want to recruit people based on political affiliation. We want to recruit people based on their academic qualification and their impeccable background and their willingness to wanting to serve this country in the most professional way that we as a people would want them to.
The government is reporting that the Guatemalan Navy illegally entered Belize's territorial waters on Thursday, December 31st in the south. A release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that members of the Guatemalan Navy illegally entered Belize's territorial waters aboard a vessel and were at one point more than 100 kilometers north of the median line between Belize and Guatemala. Reports from the ground indicate that the Guatemalan Armed Forces approached members of the scientific research team of the Toledo Institute of Development and Environment, TIDE. The team is conducting environmental studies in the area of the Corona Reef system within the Zapadilla Keys Marine Reserve when they were approached by the Guatemalans. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that, quote, without lawful authority, the Guatemalan Navy personnel requested written Guatemalan authorization from the research team to conduct their activities in the area, unquote. The Thai team, however, maintained that they were well within Belize's territory and were authorized to be there by the government of Belize. The research team concluded their day's work and returned to their post without further incident. The government has launched a full investigation of the matter, protesting the illegal incursions and saying that it will be raising the matter with its international partners. For context, the Corona Reef is located in the southernmost part of the Belize Barrier Reef system. It has been identified internationally as an area rich in biodiversity that merits environmental protection. Coming up after the break, meet baby Bryce, the firstborn of 2021.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Every day, young persons are infecting older and high-risk family members and friends with the COVID-19 virus. This Christmas could become the super spreader event we've all been afraid of. The end result is suffering and a horrible death. Please, do not let a couple of hours of fun cause a lifetime of mourning and pain. Practice physical distancing, wash hands often, and wear your mask properly. Staying home this Christmas will ensure many more with your loved ones in the years to come. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Currently, we're using Smart Elite Vibe calling plan. We use it interbranch, we use it to call outside, and we also use it to call international. It's far cheaper than what we used to have before. Our equipment, our new PBX box is new. So the PBX is very good because I can call to my Sartaneja branch, I can call to my Kikaka branch, I can call to San Pedro branch, and there's no cost using the PBS. Actually right now, since we're in different locations, I can call main office from where I am at a no cost using the PBX system. I would recommend it, sure I would, especially the big enterprises who has a lot of employees. There's a lot of reduction in costs, 50% of saving. Put that on a year, it's a lot of money that we're saving. Money that we could return to our members, since we give back dividend to our members.
Visit our showroom or call 670-6710 to find out how Smart's corporate plan and PBX systems can benefit your business. Consultation is free.
Actualmente, el virus de COVID-19 en el país sigue siendo una amenaza. Debido a que el virus nos necesita para propagarse de una persona a otra, podemos evitar que infecte a otros si practicamos el distanciamiento físico. Eso significa, manténgase al menos a 6 pies de distancia de otras personas. Evite el contacto físico. No se salude con besos, abrazos ni de mano. No se reúna en grupos grandes. Quédese en casa cuando los oficiales de la salud así lo indiquen. Utilice los medios sociales o el teléfono para comunicarse con los amigos. Evite los espacios cerrados y las áreas con mucha gente. Trabaje desde casa si puede. No visite a nadie que esté enfermo, en cuarentena o en aislamiento. Mejor, llámelos por teléfono. Protejamos nuestra salud.
6 additional COVID-19 deaths were recorded on the final day of 2020. And over the weekend, 2 additional deaths were also reported. 7 new COVID-19 deaths were reported today, bringing the total of COVID-19 deaths to 257. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says that although 7 deaths are being reported today, only 3 deaths were in 2021. The 4 other deaths occurred in December. The number of confirmed cases is at 10,930. Of that number, 587 cases remain active. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is reminding the public to follow the public health advice and adhere to the isolation quarantine guidelines if you test positive. Principal Public Health Inspector at the Ministry, John Bowden, challenged members of the public to do what they can to reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus.
I want to remind you to consider the public health measures which are the gold standards to preventing the spread of COVID-19 in our community. We must always remember to 1. Wear your mask and ensure it covers your mouth and nose to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus to others. In wearing the mask, you will protect your family and others. 2. Stay socially distant. COVID-19 spreads mainly among people who are within 6 feet of one another for a prolonged period, at least 15 minutes. Remember, the virus transmission can occur when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, which releases droplets from the mouth or nose into the air. 3. Keep washing your hands. Proper washing of the hands remains a key step to prevent COVID-19 infection. You must wash your hands with soap often, and especially after you have been in a public place or have blown your nose, coughed, or sneezed.
The first baby of 2021 was delivered at Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital in Belize City. Weighing in at 9 pounds 4 ounces, baby Bryce was born to 30-year-old Jocelyn McGale. Baby Bryce was born at 1:25 in the morning. The birth of Bryce on January 1st would ordinarily be followed by a brief ceremony, where his mother would give her first interview from the maternity ward. But due to COVID-19, such an event did not occur this year. Nonetheless, food hampers and packages will be provided by Price Premier Products, Brody's, Smart, Sanka 7Cs, and Pick and Wear clothing store. McGale says that while she was excited to be a mother once more, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic was worrisome.
I'm worried, I'm scared. I change mask like every turn I turn, hand sanitize. I'm afraid bad. I'm still happy to I get over it very well because at the room me the kids now feel much more better because I kind of worry when I go to the hospital and I used to left me like just go like that for a couple of days there. I get admitted the 29th, the Tuesday, and I have baby the Friday, New Year's.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in text at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.